Okay, well, it's been a little while since we talked about My Hero Academia. I wanted to wait until the battle was confirmed to be over before I talked about it, because Horikoshi likes to do that thing where it's like high point and it's like Dabi's there and he's revealing his master plan and he's doing an epic dance and Endeavor and Todoroki are fighting and it's just like, oh, okay, so that's the end of the battle? No, and then something else happens, and then something else happens, then there's a lull, and then something else happens, right? But this chapter 298, almost at 300, wonder what's going to happen then, I don't know. Chapter 298, this is the chapter where the protagonists are in the hospital. Okay, so you're like, okay, it's a shonen manga. Whenever the protagonists are waking up in the hospital rooms, it's like, okay, we're officially in the post-arc now. Something still crazy might happen next chapter, who knows? This might just be another lull that Horikoshi's doing. Like, it went even more, like, at the beginning of this chapter even, with, like, all of the successive prison breaks that All For One, using Tomura's body with his original body, you know, managed to fulfill. Like, that's like the first thing we get. We get a brief scene of Detranat, a little bit of the company, and we learn that the Redestro, he had his body cloned by twice, I guess, and so that's why you had two of them. You had one of them that was in the Liberation Front, like in the meeting hall and everything, and then you had another one that was serving as the public face of the company. And so at the same time everything was going on with the raid on the hospital and everything, you had this second Redestro, the clone of Redestro, melt down and attack the Public Safety Commission and everything. So this was really like, there's a million things at once going on at the exact same time that hero attack on the hospital went down. So many other things were going on in the world at that exact same moment. I'm also going to talk about the prison break at Tartarus that happened last chapter too, because I have some stuff I want to say about that. But yeah, how about this arc? That was certainly an arc. Oh yeah, I can't believe that Izuku managed to master One For All, defeat all of the villains, defeat Tomura, go into Tartarus, defeat All For One, and then, as an added measure, mastered every single quirk he had, including a time travel quirk, went back in time and saved Night Eye before he died. My god, that was insane, Horikoshi. I didn't expect you doing that. But no, in all seriousness, who won after this battle? Who won? Because I kind of hesitate to say the heroes. The heroes definitely didn't win out of this whole thing after everything that happened with that, and with the damage of not just like the heroes that died, like Midnight and Mystic and Exless and Crust. Forever in our hearts, Crust. The shield hero lives on in our hearts. Not just that, the heroes died, but also Hero Society has been probably irreparably damaged with what Dabi did. So the heroes definitely didn't come out victorious after all this, but you can't really say the villains won either. Well, I guess out of everything you could say All For One won. Like, him specifically, he won. Because Tomura didn't win. He got his freaking sentience and autonomy taken away from him. So, can't say he really was the victor in this fight. You could say his body, you know, succeeded in carrying on All For One's will, but his personality is now suppressed. A crap ton of villains got arrested after this. It was something like an insane number. It was like 15,000, 16,000 that were in that meeting hall. That was insane. I didn't think that was going to be that many. I thought like a few thousand villains, but that was just an absurd number that were all part of this Liberation Front. You know, we got to see Sliding go, some of the heroes that were working undercover, you know, like double agents, like they were heroes, but they were actually secretly working with like Detranat and everybody. They got arrested as well. You know, a lot of the sympathizers there. So yeah, the villains definitely didn't win as a whole here. And Giganto Makia and Mr. Compress were arrested. They were taken away as well. And so yeah, I guess it's All For One. It's All For One. That's really the only person that came out ahead of the game here. Izuku's in a damn coma. Bakugo seems like he's gonna be okay. He wakes up in the hospital in this chapter, and he's injured, of course, and he does the thing where he's like ripping off his eye. He's, no, Bakugo, you can't! And he's like, I need to make sure he's okay. So that was a nice moment there. We'll get to Izuku in a second here, but yeah, so let's talk about last chapter first. Let's talk about this grand prison escape at Tartarus. You know, I don't know, like, it's just because I think it was coming off of this huge epic war that went down. I feel like maybe Horikoshi could have spaced this out a little bit. Like, I don't know, like, we could have had some chapters in between, because I feel like at this point, it's like, okay, I just had this big epic battle, and now I need to have this prison break chapter, but we just came off of all the action, so maybe doing a big action arc and then another, like, prison break little mini arc, that's gonna be too much, because there's other stuff that he wants to do. Obviously, we gotta get to, like, the recovery and, like, what's going to happen to Hero Society and everything after the battle. So for that reason, he kind of crammed everything in Tartarus in one chapter, and I felt like there could have been a little bit more to that. I was really kind of looking forward to the Tartarus prison break arc. I thought it was going to be an arc. It was like a single chapter, but, you know, I was kind of looking forward to that because it's like, okay, this maximum security anti-quirk prison, and it's the best in, like, the entire world from what we understand, and All For One is in there, and Stain is in there, and Chisake's in there, along with a bunch of other villains that we've seen. Muscular is in there, and I thought, like, oh, cool, we're going to see some really awesome stuff with this, and, you know, overall, I mean, we got to see some robots get beaten down, we got to see some guards, you know, trying to fight back, but that doesn't go down as well. It's like when the SCP Foundation gets breached. It's like, yeah, you're basically, okay, good, you have guns, that's great, not gonna help you. And then, of course, the whole big twist is, like, the way that All For One was able to escape is because now there are effectively two of him. You have All For One, his original body, and then you have Tomura Shigaraki, his second body that his personality has now taken over, working together in tandem. Apparently, they're able to exchange, like, thoughts, like, just like that. And so All For One is inside of the prison, and he knows everything that's going on inside. But I do like that they mentioned, like, even if they attempted to bring, like, Giantomachia with them, and he was gonna, like, break in the prison, like, even with him, it would still be very difficult, because this prison is designed to keep, you know, invading forces out. Like, it's on an island in the middle of the ocean, and they got guard towers everywhere, and, like, robotic defense systems and everything. They mention, even with Gigantomachia's insane strength, breaking in from the outside is gonna be all but impossible. It would certainly be a task. You know, and it's like, okay, well, with All For One's massive Machiavellian schemes and you know, being over 100 years old and having all these plans, and he's inside and he could communicate with, so there's basically two of him, not just in, like, a clone kind of way, but, like, in an actual, like, no, there are two bodies that share one mind sort of deal. Yeah, that, I guess that makes sense. I was going to say, though, and this is something that happens a lot in anime, whereas you have a prison, this happened in One Piece too with Impel Down, you have a grand prison where all of the strongest, like, you know, evildoers in the world are kept in the exact same place. And it's like, how is that a good idea? Because in a world where superpowers exist, you know, in One Piece with Devil Fruit powers and Haki, and in My Hero Academia's case with quirks, in a world with superpowers and they exist, if there's ever a riot in the prison or there's ever a breach of security, not only are you going to have to worry about that one person with a crazy powerful quirk, you're going to have to worry about that person breaking out all the other people with crazy powerful quirks, and they all get out at the same time, you know? I was thinking, like, and it's the same thing with Impel Down with level 6. It's just like, well, level 6 gets breached and all of these horrible criminals are out in the world again. That's not good. You should kind of do a thing where it's like you have individual prisons built all over the place, sometimes maybe just for one prisoner, and that might seem kind of like overkill, but once again, this is a world where superpowers legitimately exist. So here's what I thought they should have done. They should not just, I mean, you could still have Tartarus, and you could still have this prison, this anti-quirk place, and you can keep a lot of, you know, villains there and everything, but for the really heinous villains, or the villains that start popping up with really weird quirks, like the quirks that could literally be used to take over the world or destroy the world, something like that, and All For One would definitely qualify. The quirk that allows him to stockpile and steal other quirks, increasing his life expectancy to over a century. Yeah, this is something weird. This is an aberration. This is not the same as Chisake's Overhaul. Chisake's Overhaul, really badass quirk, but it's like All For One and the danger he poses completely different level, right? Understandable? Okay. Muscular's really dangerous. He has crazy powerful brute strength, but All For One, he should have had, they should have built, like, separate facilities in these desolate locations, like, all over the world, and it's like, they're not always in use, but it's like, okay, if we ever catch a villain that has a really powerful quirk, we have these facilities ready to go at all times, and they're, like, you know, 300 feet under the surface, and they're like a bunker, basically, the way they're built, all designed to, like, just basically guard a single prisoner. And they should throw everything at them in that case. I was gonna say that, But in this chapter, the chapter we just got to, 298, it starts with like 7 prisons that they attacked, and I think like 6 they freed from. So I'm not sure what the other prison was about, but it's like they just immediately after Tartarus, the breakout, they attack in the span of like hours all the other major prisons in Japan. I would imagine Tartarus is like the #1 though. Like that's the most, like the super maximum security facility. All those other prisons would have definitely been protected, just like any prison is, but like they would have less security than Tartarus. So if they took out Tartarus first, all those other ones would fall pretty easily with their powers that they had, right? But yeah, I feel like All for One should not have been locked up in the same facility as Stain and Chisake and all these other really that sexy lady. I'm not sure what she can do, but I'm waiting to see what that's going on. That sexy lady villain prisoner, and then Muscular and everybody. Like he should have been in his own place. Now, even if that was the case, you know, like he's in a cage like surrounded by molten lava or something. Even if that was the case, like they still might have been able to break him out with the plan that he put in motion. But I'm just saying that anyway. So what else? Well, in this chapter we basically have a lot of Todoroki moments. We have Todoroki waking up. His throat has been burned, so he can't really speak, but he's gonna recover. At least we hope he's gonna recover, and he's just thinking about Dabi and his old man Endeavor and everybody, and he's like, okay, Dabi's fire is hotter than my dad's. You know, his hell flame is even stronger, and on top of that, he's insane. Like, we kind of already knew that. Like, he's insane to the point, Dabi is, where it's like, he will, like, wreck his own body. Like, his whole body will be going up into flames and ash, if it means that he fulfills his goal. Right, and he was already doing that. So Todoroki realizes right then and there, as soon as he kind of like regains, you know, consciousness in the hospital, like, I'm gonna have to be the one to take down Dabi. I'm gonna have to be the one to go up against my older brother Toya, because my dad's not gonna be able to do it. It's all left over to me, basically, like the next generation. You know, I'm the one capable of doing this, right? And so that's going to probably be a big chip on Todoroki's shoulders for that might be like his Sasuke Itachi thing now. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it's probably going to be several arcs down the road, but we're going to get a Todoroki versus Dabi all balls out fights. And that's going to be like Todoroki going down that path of like, this is my duty, not just as a member of the Todoroki family, not just to kind of like, you know, make sure that Dabi pays for what he does, but also like after everything that happened with Endeavor and the Hero Society and the fracturing that's going to occur from that, Todoroki might take that on himself, like to redeem Hero Society. Like, Dabi was the one that caused all this, and my old man Endeavor is going to take the brunt of the damage from everything. You know, as soon as he regains consciousness and everything, he might not even be able to go back to being a hero. Like, we're not exactly sure how this is going to go down. Todoroki really might now take that upon himself. Like, at the beginning of the story, he hated his father, and now it's like, I have to avenge him. I have to, you know, avenge his name and what it means to be Endeavor, the hero. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to defeat Dabi. You know, even if defeating Dabi doesn't magically fix all of the damage that he did, Todoroki is a smart guy. He might know that. He's like, I'm not going to just defeat Dabi and everyone's going to forgive Endeavor. But Dabi has to pay for what he did. He has to go down. So I have to start with that. And the scene in the chapter where Todoroki's in the hospital all bandaged up and he's like realizing what he has to do, the look on his face is not a look of anger. It's not a look of like, Dabi, you know, I have to finish him off. You know, that's like a JoJo, right? Dabi, you know, but he's like, Dabi, I'm going to finish you. No, it's a look of anxiety. It's a look of uncertainty. It's a look of fear, I think. Anger's definitely in there as well, but the look that Todoroki makes is just like, I have to do this. Kind of like he's already decided on his fate. Like, nobody, of course, is going to tell Todoroki he has to do this. No one's forcing him to do this. But it's just like, nope, this is my future. This is laid out for me now. Me fighting Dabi, my brother Toya, whatever he wants to call himself. That's already a foregone conclusion. And I think Todoroki's mind, he's going to have to do that. So, we'll see how his character develops now from this point onward, how this is going to go, because, you know, a big part of the Endeavor redemption arc was kind of Endeavor's redemption and how Todoroki views his dad and maybe starting on the path of forgiveness for everything he's done. And it was kind of like, all right, Todoroki's definitely beginning to forgive, I think, his dad a little bit for this stuff, but, you know, he's not ready to forgive him completely. He's still kind of like teetering there, and then this happens, so we'll see where it goes from Todoroki from this point onward, right? Endeavor is still unconscious. He's actually in the middle of a surgery when this chapter's going on, so I don't know if, like, after the surgery he'll regain consciousness right away, but he was just, like, he was, like, under anesthesia, I think, in this chapter. Everybody's outside the hospital, of course, like, all the reporters and everybody are like, Endeavor needs to make a statement! I'm like, guys, see, okay, look, like, regardless of what was revealed, you know, with Dabi and everything, when he, like, hijacked the airwaves and everything, regardless of what was revealed, Endeavor still fought in this massive, like, world-ending Armageddon battle. He's in the freaking hospital. He's under surgery right now. He's not going to be able to release a freaking statement right away, all right? Like, yeah, I mean, eventually Endeavor's going to have to answer for this, and I think himself, like, Endeavor's gonna... I think as soon as Endeavor is conscious, and he realizes the situation, and he knows what's going on outside, I think Endeavor is going to, you know, say something, even if he's all bandaged up and he's bleeding, and he's like, sir, you can't! He's, I know, but I need to say something. I'm supposed to be the #1 hero. I have to say something to them. So he's definitely going to get to that point, but right now he's still in surgery. Bakugo wakes up, as I said. A lot of other members of Class 1A are there. Minetta's there and everybody. Momo is looking really rough. You see Momo in this chapter, and, you know, this is a few days. I think there's 2 days after the battle and everything is over, so they're not really all that injured. Any fatigue from the battle, they might still be feeling some injuries or whatever, but, like, Momo and everybody aren't critically injured. So they're in the hospital visiting Bakugo, and Momo's eyes, it looks like she has not slept in the last 2 days. For, like, over 48 hours, she has not slept because of what happened with Midnight. And this is, like, all of the students' like, first real, like, glimpse at, like, the extreme end of being a hero. Like, I'm sure every single one of them, you know, when they were kids, were like, we want to be heroes because we want to save people, right? Okay, cool. Well, superpowers exist in this world, and there are hero schools that you can go to. And I'm sure as they grew older, they understood the dangers of that. They understood, like, we might get seriously critically injured or killed in the line of duty doing this. But it's one thing to, like, understand that from, like, an intellectual level, like the way Momo understood it, and it's another thing to literally hold your dead sensei's hand as she died trying to protect all of you. Like, Midnight is dead, and Momo is, like, right there with her body, so it's like, yeah, that's gonna hit home hard. And all of the students felt that, but Momo in particular, with, like, the bags under her eyes, it's like she's always a very, you know, she's a very tactical individual. She's very smart, and she always thinks of things in, like, more of a rational way, but I'm not really sure how this is going to go with her. Do we see Uraraka in this chapter? She might have been in the hospital. I don't think we really saw Uraraka, though. If we did, it wasn't, like, a focus on her. But in the last chapter, one of the last chapters, when Uraraka was helping people in the rubble, and you see that random hero just off to the side who's just like, this is too much. I can't do this anymore. I'm just like, after this is all over, I think I'm just going to go be like a banker or a baker or something. A banker or a baker. I don't know. I can't do this anymore. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Horikoshi does that really adds a whole new layer of weight to all this. And I'm not saying it isn't done in, like, other series, but, you know, a lot of times it is glossed over, especially when you have, like, a shonen manga, and fighting is, like, the primary, like, focus a lot of times. But the thing is, with My Hero Academia, it isn't just about fighting, it's also, like, a slice of life thing. And in a lot of ways, you know, like, remember, the main cast are still all, like, freshmen in high school, for God's sakes, right? And they're literally witnessing this, like, natural disaster basically happen, with this entire city just gets completely obliterated, and there's people dying everywhere, and they're heroes, and they're supposed to be helping, and it's like that one hero at that chapter is just like, you're gonna have a moment where you just break. you just break, and it's like everything you've learned, it's like you're gonna be a hero. Oh, cool, I get a cool hero costume, and I get to use my quirk, and I get to, you know, fly around the city and save the downtrodden. You know, ma'am, your purse was stolen. Allow me to get that back for you. Aha! Thank you. I am the great hero, Sky Savior. That's kind of a really lame name, but when in doubt, go with alliteration, I guess. I'm Sky Savior. I can fly, and here's your purse, ma'am. That's great. Okay, then there's an actual, like, oh god, the entire city is collapsed, and people are dying, and there's blood everywhere, and everyone's telling me to save them, and I can't do this anymore. And even more than that scene with the hero, the next scene that's just as powerful, in my opinion, was the scene with Uraraka looking at the hero, and then everything behind him, in front of him, that's like, you know, everyone's dying and everything, and that look on Uraraka's face with, like, the shock, and then her hair's falling down, and she's just, like, she usually has, like, her rosy cheeks, and there's, like, blood all over her face, and it's just that look on her face, like, she's not at the same point that guy's at. Like, she's not, like breaking yet, but it's really close. You know, it's really close where she realizes, like, this is too much. This is... Whew. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be like this. You know, like in, like, soldiers in a war, basically. It's like that moment of, like, shell shock or, like, trauma that really hits you, right? And I'm sure Horikoshi is going to go into that, like, after this. Like, there's going to be a lot of heroes that might be resigning after this, that are going to have, like, PTSD after this whole event, and they might not be able to be heroes anymore after this, you know? And there might even be, do you think there's going to be a situation where, like, some of the class of 1A quits the hero course? Not saying they don't have to, like, leave the main cast altogether, but, like, what if it's like Mineta is like, I can't do this anymore, guys. I'm transferring to general studies. I'll still be in the school. I'll still see you. You'll still be part of the cast and whatever, but it's like, I can't be a hero anymore. I need to go do something else with my life. I'm joining the business course or something, right? There's other stuff that, you know, the students could do, but there really might be a moment after this where they just can't be heroes anymore. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. In fact, if that didn't happen, I'd be a little bit, you know, it's like, oh, well, I just feel like that's the road we're going on right now. So, yeah, Bakugo he gets up, he's okay, at least he's relatively okay, he can still move and stuff, he's not, like, paralyzed or anything. Izuku is in a coma from what it seems. He's in a hospital bed. He's the last scene we see in the chapter. All Might is there with him holding his, I was gonna say All Might's there holding his hand, but literally all 4 limbs are casted up. Like, he's like basically in a full body cast. Like, his entire body's in a full body cast, like up to here, both of his legs. You just see his head pretty much, and, you know, he's in the hospital bed, and his legs are hoisted up. Oh, by the way, speaking of legs, Aizawa lost a leg. So I would say that's really bad, but remember, this takes place a little bit in the future, and Mirako lost an arm, so I think they might have more advanced, like, prosthetics that heroes can utilize. So it might take a little while, but I think eventually Aizawa is going to get, like, a badass, like, you watch, he's gonna get a badass, like a auto male thruster leg or something. But I think you'll be okay, Aizawa. I think he's gonna get a cool prosthetic. It might take a little while for him to train with it, but, you know, and same with Mirako. Mirako's whole thing was her legs to begin with, you know, like fighting with that kind of style. Have you been reading My Hero Vigilantes lately? Because we had that really cool flashback arc with Mirako and everything. That was really sweet. Rappa was in there too, so that was neat. Go read My Hero Academia Vigilantes. It's going to be ending soon, I guess, but it's a great read. But anyway, yeah, so Mirako's going to get a badass prosthetic arm, and Aizawa's going to get a prosthetic leg, so I think they can continue to be heroes. Gran Torino, on the other hand, Gran Torino's already pretty old, and he's really close to being, I think he was really close to dying there. We have a Dr. Chicken come in. There's a chicken doctor at the hospital, but he's drawn like a cartoon character, like even more so, but he's just like, you guys were really close to dying there, but we managed to save your lives. Sorry we had to amputate your leg, Aizawa. You know, it's like, so he's like drawn like a cartoon character, but he's like really serious. He's a chicken doctor, right? Anyway, so that's Gran Torino. I don't think he's going to be able to be a hero after this. I think he might be in like a wheelchair for the rest of his life or something. He looked like he got really banged up, and Aizawa lost a leg, and then Midnight's dead, so. But anyway, yeah, Izuku. I'm going to assume that he's going to have a long conversation with the inner thoughts of of One for All, the Vestiges. I'm not really sure how that conversation's going to go. I would say it would be amazingly convenient if one of the quirks he unlocks next would be a healing quirk, but that would be kind of cheapening it, I think, especially with all the damage he just suffered. I would actually really hate that. I would really hate if it's like, oh yeah, the second user of One for All happened to have this hyper recovery quirk. It's even better than Shigaraki's. Like, yeah, no. That's definitely not, I think, where we're going with this here. And it was stated before, like, if Izuku exerts himself anymore, he's not going to be able to move his arms anymore. And now it's also with his legs, too. Like, his whole body is in a full cast. He didn't lose any limbs. I mean, his one arm, I think, was, like, this close to being ripped off. So, Horikoshi, I mean, like, it's still a shonen, so you can't show, like, really grisly injuries or whatever, but when those casts come off, his arms are not going to, they are not going to be looking nice. They are not going to be looking pretty. He is probably not going to be able to use those. I have no idea. I have no idea. Like his entire, you saw what happened in the battle. Like, not just his arms, his legs, every single limb got wrecked. Near the end of the battle, he was literally using his tongue with Black Whip in order to move. Like, at that point, like, you've lost feeling in all four of your limbs. Maybe his legs will be okay. And that's the thing, that's like, I'm trying to figure out a way that this could work out, because Izuku's supposed to be the main character here, right? And it's like, oh, he's the main character, of course he'll be okay. Yeah, his legs and arms will be messed up. They'll figure out some way to fix them, just like Asta and Black Clover. Remember, his arms were, you know, damaged with that curse? Yeah, they figured out a way to fix them up just fine. In fact, even stronger. You know, oh, Luffy gets injured, Ichigo gets injured. They'll figure out some way to fix them up. They're the main characters. They can't just be, you know, sitting in a hospital bed for the rest of the story, right? Unless you do get some sort of crazy overpowered healing quirk involved, or maybe Aries Rewind. See, that's a thing that's probably going to happen. That's the thing. It's like they're probably just going to go to Eri, and then she's going to use Rewind, and it's going to fix up Izuku's body. That's probably what's going to happen. But it's like, I really don't want that to be, like, the crutch that they rely on. No pun intended. I don't want that to be the thing where it's like, well, no matter who gets hurt, no matter their injuries, we have Eri there. And Eri does have to, like, charge up her quirk. She can't just use it, like, over and over again. She has to, like, gather up the energy to use it again, and she did just use it on Mirio. But I guess it depends on how much energy was used up to restore Mirio's quirk. You know, how that could work on Izuku. Yeah, I just don't think, I feel like Horikoshi's not going to rely on Eri for fixing everything in life, right? I just feel like he's a better writer than that, so I'm hoping that doesn't go down that road. But I guess we'll see what happens when Izuku finally wakes up from his coma, and the doctor comes in and sits down next to him in a chair, and he's just like, all right, well, okay, where do I even start? Well, you know how you used to have bones in your arms? Well, that's mostly all metal now. You know, like, we had to replace that with pretty much, I don't know, but I just hope that it's handled in a certain way, and we'll leave that up to Horikoshi. All right. We see the villains very briefly in this chapter, just brief enough to liberate all these other prisons. All these villains are getting out and they're freed, and then they just kind of retreat out into the middle of the woods to rest. And so you see Shigaraki being controlled by All For One there, and you see Spinner there. And Spinner's like, dude, I didn't sign up for this. You know, I signed up to follow you, Shigaraki, not whoever the hell you are now. Like, we were bonding. We played PlayStation together. And All For One's there, and he's just like, oh, fear not, Spinner. Fear not. It's all part of the plan. And so Spinner is really starting to have, like, some second thoughts here. I wouldn't be surprised if Spinner doesn't necessarily go over to the hero side of things, but, like, separates himself, like, waits for everybody to kind of, like, not be looking, and then Spinner just bails, and he leaves. And he's like, Mr. Compress, you know, Himiko, you know, Toga's gone, you know, Higatomakiya's captured, freaking Twice is dead. I'm out of here. And Spinner just leaves, and he goes off on his own, and then maybe at some point, he'll maybe like, hey, look, Shigaraki, I kind of felt a bond with him, and that's why I followed him. But now he's being taken over by All for One. I don't like you heroes. I absolutely do not like you heroes and what you stand for. I will never call myself a hero. I will never work with you. But I need to get Shigaraki freed, because this isn't right what All for One did, right? And so he might maybe give some information. He's like, tell you what, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. If you want to help me out and give me some backup, that's on you. But I'm gonna go try to, you know, kill All for One and get Shigaraki back, you know. And so will Shigaraki be set up as like the tragic victim in all this, even after everything he's done while he had full awareness of what he was doing? I don't think that. I don't think he's going to be set up as that victim at that point, considering all the stuff he did. But it's at this point, it's like All for One needs to be taken care of first. That's definitely the mastermind here. We need to take care of All for One first, who's this very focused individual on, like, ruling the world or whatever. Like I'll become a demon lord, for God's sake, which was very, very edgy, if I have to say. But we need to take care of him. Take care of him first, and anything that comes after that is on the back burner for right now, because we need to take care of All for One. But anyway, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a post-arc, I think. We're going to get a few more chapters after this where everybody's just healing and recovering, and I really want to see what all of the members of Class 1A are really feeling on this. Even if we just had a whole chapter where we just go through the lives of each one, like what Momo is feeling, what Sato, and what everybody's, Mineta, and like, you know, I don't know if I can continue being a hero, or, you know, I think I can still be a hero with reinvigorated, like, this is why I have to be a hero, or this is, I thought being a hero meant this, but now it means this. You know, I want to see, like, their different outlooks on life and how this has all changed, encountering something this insane at such a young age, you know? So, yeah, we'll see where this goes from here, but, yeah, it's getting very, very intense, and I don't know what Horikoshi has planned for, like, Chapter 300, if anything, but I guess we'll see. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and the Berries signing out. Later, everyone.